Ethiopia and Eritrea. The largest number of Copts are found anywhere in the world in Ethiopia. They subscribe to the Christian interpretation that is that's based in Alexandria in Egypt. Baba Shenouda is considered their highest figure. They are not part of Catholic, they are not part of Protestant, they are not part of Orthodox. They have their own religious tradition. So what happened was, with the spread of Islam and with the establishment of these various Islamic entities, there was armed conflict. So if you read the history of the region, it was waves of war between the Christian kings, Nugus and Agis, king of the kings who used to rule the highlands of Ethiopia, and the Muslim sultanates that were in the lowlands. So it was constant battles and conflicts and frictions, and most of the time the Christian kings had the upper hand. Partly, as one historian mentioned, and it seems this is a common Muslim disease, that these 7 sultanates were feuding among themselves. And this particular historian, I think it's Al-Maqrizi, he says that had these 7 entities were united, they would have been able to defend themselves from the attacks that was coming to them from the highlands of Ethiopia. One person who is mentioned with great importance is a man known as Al-Imam Ahmed ibn Ibrahim. The Ethiopians call him the left-handed, because when he used to fight, he used to carry the sword with his right hand. Now, this man is prominent in the history of the region. He was the Sultan of Adal, that he was able for the first time to defeat the king of kings in the highlands of Ethiopia and occupy not only the highlands, but managed to take the capital, and he managed to reach to the borders of Sudan. Basically, he occupied the whole region of what you could consider the Horn of Africa. And the last king, or the king who was fighting him, basically was defeated, and on the advice of his mother, he asked for the help of the Portugal. Although the Portugal were of a different school, or because they were Catholic and Ethiopians are Copts, he asked for their help. At that time, Portugal was considered one of the superpowers that was competing with the Ottoman Empire. So the Portuguese came and they fought on the side of the king of the highlands. Imam Ahmed asked for the help of the Turks, and the Turks also came, but in the end he lost the battle and he was defeated. So as you can see, this region has seen its share of conflict between the Muslim sultanates and the Christian kingdoms that were in the highlands, and also between the Ottomans and the Portuguese, who were trying to take control of the Red Sea, which finally came under the control of the Ottomans. The Portuguese were defeated in that region. Interestingly enough, the Portuguese, when they managed to, when they helped the Ethiopians, they were trying to convert them to Catholicism. And one of the chapters you will come across in the history of Ethiopia is there was a strife not only between Muslims and Copts, but also between Copts and Catholics, the king who came after the defeat of Imam Ahmed, Claudius, he became a Catholic, and he imposed a Catholic bishop on Ethiopians, and there was a huge revolt and friction within Ethiopia, to the extent that the king who came after that, who was a Copt, made an agreement with the Ottoman governor not to allow any Western Christian to come to their region. So as you can see that, or this is just to give you a flavor, or to give you a quick view of the kind of conflict that took place in the region between the Highlanders and the Lowlanders, and the intervention that was coming from outside. Also, the Horn of Africa went through a difficult period of time. And this was a time, and this is particularly for Muslims who were living in the highlands. This was particularly during the reign of a king known as Johannes, or John, or Johanna. And this particular king came with an idea that he wanted to unify religion in his country. And he wanted everybody to convert to the Coptic Christian tradition. So Islam was not acceptable, Catholicism was not acceptable, any other faith will not be acceptable in his kingdom except the Coptic Jacobite interpretation of Christianity. So with that project, he started a process of forced conversion, and there were thousands of Muslims who were forced to abandon their religion and be Christians. Of course, they did not convert Christians, but on the surface, because they had no choice, they were taken in large numbers to church, and they were forced to convert to Christianity, a process similar to what happened in Spain, not as severe, not as brutal, but to some extent, some similarity can be made between what happened over there and between what Johannes tried to do in Ethiopia at this time. This was around the 1890s. But Johannes was not successful because he was defeated by the Mahdis in the Sudan, and he lost the battle. And after that, the Italians came and occupied Eritrea, and that practically ended his project of forced conversion, trying to convert people to Christianity. Now, the current status in the Horn of Africa is not very pleasant. There are positive things, but there are other things also that are disturbing. Disintegration is one of the unfortunate things that we notice today in the Horn of Africa. Somalia is a disintegrated country today. It doesn't have any central authority, and various tribes, various groups, and various warlords have been feuding and fighting and killing one another. And unfortunately, external intervention also did not help, and the situation worsened because of this external intervention. And what's puzzling about Somalia is that Somalia is not like some of the African regions where you have so many languages and so many cultures, so many ethnic groups, so many people from from different religious groups. Somalia, all of them Muslims, not only all of them Muslims, all of them Sunni Somali, speak the same language, they come from they have the same ethnic composition, but despite that, you see so much internal fighting and friction, and that's very saddening and